A BetterHelp ad. Therapy isn't just for times of major challenge. It's a valuable tool for anyone wanting to improve their well-being. It can help you develop healthy coping skills, set boundaries, and support personal growth. BetterHelp makes it easy to get matched online with a fully licensed therapist right from your phone. No commuting, no waiting rooms. And you can switch therapists at any time. Sign up at betterhelp.com and get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com.
We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
Insurance isn't one size fits all, and shopping for it shouldn't feel like squeezing into something that just doesn't fit. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they show you options that fit your budget. Enough hunting for discounts, trying to calculate rates, and tinkering with coverages. Maybe you're picking out your very first policy, or maybe you're just looking for something that works better for you and your family. Either way, they make it simple to see your options. No guesswork, no surprises. Ready to see how easy and fun shopping for car insurance can be? Visit Progressive.com and give the Name Your Price tool a try. Take the stress out of shopping and find coverage that fits your life on your terms. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Really interesting you say that, and Brian, I might throw this one over to you because Kieran mentions the strength of schedule again, and again I mentioned Sharp Football Analysis, who put together some really interesting data on this, and it's well worth checking out. But if you looked at past performance as your 2026 strength of schedule guide, as I said earlier, the Bears have the toughest schedule in football. If you look at the NFL's schedule rest disparity, as in which teams are relatively better advantaged by the rest and which teams are relatively disadvantaged because the games fall thick and fast for them, the Bears actually have the best rest differential in the NFL. The Chargers, the worst. So it goes completely against the prior year schedule. And rest often turns out to be a huge factor in whether teams make the playoffs or not down the stretch.
I always find it unusual that strength of schedule is deemed to be the most difficult for a team that's come off a really successful season. Like when I looked at the Bears schedule last week with Kieran, and I was looking at games and I was like, in theory, win, that looks very winnable. Like there was very few games where you look at it and say, that's not winnable for this Bears team, based on what we saw last year. One overtime game away from being in the NFC Championship game. And yet people are saying it's a really difficult task on their hands this season for the Bears. I kind of looked at it in some ways kind of going, somewhat favourable start to the season with all due respect to the Panthers, and it kind of flows from there. Ultimately, about what they get off to with a start. But you're 3 or 4 weeks in, and the Bears aren't playing at the level which you saw last year, Conor. They're 1-3. All of a sudden, it's going to be this is a real tough schedule for this Bears team. But it's just interesting the dynamic. Like surely other teams are looking at the Bears as that's a really. Where's the flip on that, Conor? Because if people are looking at the Bears on their schedule, and that's a really difficult one. Their strength of schedule lines up in a more difficult manner as well. I know they've got other teams to suggest, but just
and the way you got to. The way you got to view this, Brian, to your point, is this is the price of success, right? Because of the way the schedule is determined, winning your division means you're going to play other division champions and you're going to play teams that finished higher up. So your schedule automatically becomes more difficult by dint of having had a good season, which is how the NFL, one of the ways the NFL quite cleverly tries to even the slate and tend towards people being evenly matched throughout the season, because that's what's made it the entertainment products that it is. And if it ain't broke, don't try and fix it. But the way you got to approach that as a team is not, this is a difficult schedule. It's to quote Rorschach from Watchmen, I'm not trapped in here with you, you're trapped in here with me.
Yeah, and it's not dismissing people selecting the Bears, Conor, to be in the NFC Championship games. There's numerous selections already out there for the season. A lot of people are suggesting the Bears are going to run it back, win the North, and they're going to be, if not in the Super Bowl, certainly in the NFC Championship game. So people aren't opposed to the scheduling which has been put in front of the Bears. In some instances, I saw it looks quite favourable in terms of trying to get off to a fast start this season.
Craig, your teams with the most primetime games, Rams has 7, Bills, Seahawks, Chiefs, Packers, Cowboys 6, Patriots, Niners, and Bears. Sorry, I said the Bears have 7. They only had 5. Eagles with 5. So these are the teams that we're going to get used to seeing in those island games. I'm wondering, looking at some of these, I mean, Patriots 5 games. We talk about strength of schedule, a team that, as we discussed ad infinitum, as everybody else did last season, had a very easy schedule and had their path. They had to go and win the games, of course. Path to the Super Bowl, well paved for them. I'm not so sure we're going to see primetime Patriots in primetime slots next year. That's the one team I'm looking at going, well, do we really have to watch them 5 times in primetime next year? Sorry, Patriots fans.
So it's almost like you've teed this up for me, like a beautiful host would do. But I literally have notes on the Patriots. Week 1 to 4, they play the Seahawks at home against the Steelers, at the Jags, and then at the Bills. The strength of schedule marks that as a 0.721, which is the hardest opening 4-week stretch since the Eagles in 86. Like, that is a rough start to the season. And with everything that's going on off the field, if that's not repaired by the time we get around to the season, this could be nasty for the Patriots in the way that this goes across the season, because they could quite easily start 0-4, and then where does it fall from there?
It's 3 division winners in the first 4 weeks.
Yeah, that is.
And the other one being the Bills.
Yeah, the Bills. Yeah.
What's the repair, Craig? Sorry, did I miss something? He said if they don't have their off-season situation prepared. I was wondering what that situation you're referring to.
If I speak, I am in trouble. I'll take the Mourinho way out of this.
Good man, Craig. The media training is definitely paying dividends there. Spare thought, by the way, for the teams with no primetime games. So Raiders fans, sorry for you. Jets, we mentioned in the Aaron Rodgers era, got that great run of primetime games, and then Rodgers gets injured. So they get no primetime games this year. That seems to be coming back to bite them. Dolphins, no primetime games. Cardinals, no primetime games. And Titans, no primetime games. So those are teams that are not going to have to play on an island at all next year. So bit of a shame for them and for their fans, but them's is the breaks, at least as far as the 2026 schedule is concerned. Kieran, the Christmas slate. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just had a stat for Brian and for Craig there, just on primetime games in short weeks. The worst team on a short week over the last 10 years, who has it been?
I assume you're going to say the New York Giants, are you?
New York Giants, 8-20. The best coach off a short week over the last 10 years.
Andy Reid.
John
Harbaugh, 22-8. So there could be a bit of a shift in New York.
Kieran, you could have said the worst team coming off a normal week schedule for the last 10 years. It could have been
worst team playing games
Giants
against other teams.
Is that paralysis by analysis? Isn't that what it's called?
One game at a time, Kieran. John Harbaugh's 4-1 against the Cowboys. We'll take that for now going into the opening game in September.
Well, you say one game at a time, Brian, but we've 3 games on, not all on at the same time, but on Christmas Day, which it feels so sinful to be talking about in May, but like we're in it now, so let's keep going. We have Packers Bears in the 6 o'clock slot. For those of us on this side.
When I found out I was going to be a parent, I immediately felt a lot of anxiety and worry. So I went on to BetterHelp to try to look for a therapist to help me with that.
My relationship with my family and with my boyfriend and with myself were suffering. I really needed help.
I was ruminating a lot. Really getting those thoughts out to a therapist and getting feedback was just life-changing.
Discover what BetterHelp Online Therapy can do for you. Visit BetterHelp.com today.
The Atlantic, Bills, Broncos at 9:30, another cracking game, and then Rams, Seahawks, the divisional clash, arguably in the NFL, certainly as it was last season with 3 sensational games they played, 2 in the regular season and 1 in the playoffs. So that's guaranteed to be a disappointment at 1:15 for those of us who finally get away from our families on the morning of Stephen's Day. But that is on paper, and we're a long way away from there now. That is as mouth-watering as the most succulent turkey that you're going to get on Christmas Day, Kieran.
Yeah, the only thing that could ruin it, and it has happened before, is if one of those teams is running
indigestion.
away with the indigestion. Yeah, if one of those teams is running away with the conference, or if they've got their final playoff place in situ. We've seen Christmas Day games where the Chiefs were playing their playing their backups, and that's the only thing that could ruin it. But on paper, it's an absolute mouth-watering clash. I don't know what you're planning on doing, Conor, for that 1 p.m. Eastern time game, that 6 o'clock game. How are you going to get away from the Queen's speech and Mrs. Brown's boys to watch the Packers Bears?
Thinking like if you leave Cork at 4 and I leave Dublin at 4, we could kind of probably meet up halfway. We'll figure it out. We'll stick a pin in the map.
I'll tell you, it'll be easier. I'll probably be in Care in Tipperary for that, so I'll be a quarter of the way there at least, almost halfway there.
Live from the doghouse.
Kind of what I find about Christmas Day games, and I'm sure there's other people out there who have young children that kind of might kind of know this familiarity with this story. How it's adamant weeks in advance. You're not watching the NFL on Christmas Day. Absolutely not. By the time the NFL starts, everyone is already jaded in the house from the early start that morning, and all of a sudden that conversation goes away with just watch whatever you want.
I was very lucky actually. This past Christmas, my brother and his fiance were over from Canada, from Vancouver, and there was a few Canadians who were big into the NFL, and so out of Irish politeness, the NFL was put on in the background. So it wasn't even my fault that we were watching it. It was great.
You got to volunteer to make the sandwiches and then disappear for 3 hours. You do actually have to make
and then just pretend you got a bad one, is it?
Yeah. Whatever works, we do what we have to get through.
It does have the makings of a cracker, though. Sorry, Conor, you're right. You touched on it there. I know there's been some, and again, I'm cautious of saying this because I remember a few years ago when Broncos Rams was on Christmas Day, and again the Baker Mayfield ended up being the quarterback, I believe, for the Rams in that game. But looking at that right now, you would have to argue all 4 of those teams should be in contention in that 6 o'clock minute, and of course the 1 o'clock window, which for them would be a bit of a stretch for a lot of people.
Craig, while Brian mentions the Broncos and they play in a primetime slot again on Christmas Day, as they do on Thanksgiving, a team that, by the odds makers is quite fancied to go back to possibly the AFC Championship game or even the Super Bowl in some people's imaginings. We dinged the Patriots earlier for their... I dinged the Patriots earlier. I'm trying to retrospectively apply cabinet collective responsibility, but that was all me. Let's be honest. But the Broncos had it very easy last year as well, and a lot of things fell in their favor. And I won't remind Kieran O'Donovan, I will remind him of the time the Packers had them right where they wanted them before everything went wrong, and what a sliding doors moment that turned out to be for both teams last season. But didn't do much work in the off-season, the Broncos. Obviously, they had that one big addition at wide receiver with Jalen Waddle coming in from the Dolphins. And the Broncos seem to be sitting there smugly saying, yeah, we're nearly there. We're one player away from the Super Bowl. Always strikes me as quite an arrogant position to be in the NFL because you just don't know what's happening around you. You don't know what's going to happen in your division. You don't know how well the Chiefs are going to bounce back and all that sort of stuff. I'm not so sure it works out necessarily the way the schedule has drawn this one up as the Broncos running it back.
No, and let's not forget what Sean Payton said in London last year, in the fact that they ended up winning a lot of close games last year, but you go back a year before that and it was the reverse. They ended up losing a lot of close games. And it does feel like the Broncos have maybe the best all-round roster that is out there with a head coach. And I'm not saying that he's an arrogant head coach, but I think he's a head coach who will go out there, put his cojones on the table and say, this is what we're going to be doing. And then he'll back it up as well. And he is quite happy to kind of hold his hands up and take responsibility.
Well, he said last year that he had, in his reckoning, had 3 Super Bowl ready teams in his career, and this was one of them. So to give him his due, he put it all on the line. He was not mincing his words.
No, not at all. And they have a phenomenal defense, and they've had that for a good number of years, and they've just been waiting for that offense to click. And it did last year with Bo Nix. And you can argue that the Broncos were Super Bowl bound before.
It's all Christmas in everybo's head now. It's crackers, it's mince pies, and now we're talking Super Bowl.
It's too much brandy. But yeah, you could argue that the Patriots were the wrong team in the Super Bowl, and it was going to be the Broncos. And obviously, we all know what happened in the NFC Championship game where they had Stidham in there, and it just didn't go to plan. They pick up Waddle. I think Waddle was maybe the piece that they're missing. Wide receiver was something that they didn't have, and they needed something just to take that next step. And it does not surprise me that they are number one on the sort of power rankings as it would be pre-season, despite the fact we've not seen a single person snap a meaningful ball yet.
You took the words right out of my mouth, because the next step is OTAs. Football's so close you can taste it, but it's still far away, so close right now as we are in May. A few months away, as Brian, as you were saying, from meaningful action, but we do enjoy chopping it up, and we have plenty more to come between now and then. If you're listening back to the podcast, by the way, don't forget to hit subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, please, if you like what you heard, and maybe even write us up a review. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks a million to all of you who joined us live this evening on the Irish NFL Show.